Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Saturday We Are Movie Club Saturday Hangout. I am Kamurai. I'm a programmer by day, a YouTuber by night, and a game designer whenever I can damn well get to it. And I am wearing my Daniel Ate the Sandwich t-shirt, which you can, if you just Google Daniel Ate the Sandwich, I'm sure that's her website. She's a musician, folk singer type person who does some cool stuff, and she's involved in doing some music videos here and there, a couple role related things with a guy she knows. So yeah, yay. I don't know. I am kind of on my own today because Charlie deserves the opportunity to get on a nice dress and go and watch people take left turns all day in another country. He's in France for like a Grand Prix or stock car race or something. I'm not. So I'm going to sit here and talk to you about movies for just a little bit. Hopefully, not too long, and we'll see what's happening there. Do 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 do. Okay, so what we've been watching. Um, I know I had finished up Community recently. I don't remember if it was really last week or not, but I did jump into a great show called Falling Skies a little bit ago, and their season 3 just came out on DVD, so I got that in and I got that watched um, sometime recently. The it's really such a great show. It's really an apocalyptic aliens have invaded type show, and they put a really interesting dynamic in on the aliens because usually when you see aliens, they're just humanoids and they look a little bit different. Especially when you look at things like Star Trek, Star Wars a little bit less, but they're still 2 legs, 2 arms, whatever. Well, in Fallen Skies, they actually use what they call skitters, which are actually like insectoid aliens, but they're not like Zerg or Tyranids, if you're familiar with either of those words, where it's just a hive-minded natural bug-like creatures. These are sentient alien creatures that uh, use a hive mind, but it turns out the Skitters are actually controlled by the Indrashi, which are what they call fish faces in the show. So it turns out like very few Indrashi, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, control the Skitter legions, and the Skitter legions can even control children that have been harnessed, where they put like little larvae on the backs of the kids, and the larvae tap into the kids and ride them like a puppet. Um, so it turns out the Skitters are actually just transformed subjugates of the Indrashi. Um, so uh, the big thing for season 3 was that another species lands on the planet. They managed to like slip in through the defense grid or whatever. So the Volge are at battle with Indrashi essentially, and like the humans are kind of caught in the middle of it. So that's what the third season's all about, is dealing with the Volge and trying to beat the Indrashi and the humans that have been pulled in, been harnessed and brought into the hive mind essentially. And then season 4 is all set up for uh, the battle between the humans, the Andrashi Skitters, and the Volge. Um, After like the humans and the Volge recognize who each other are finally, uh, which I'm really looking forward to. I kind of live in that sci-fi realm when it comes to stories, and that'd be my wheelhouse for sure. Very happy to see that coming around, and they keep pretty well about the physics about everything and reasonable. It just there's some times where I wish people would just die a lot sooner than happens in the show. It's like, no, you should have shot him. You probably should have killed him. How many times are you gonna let that person shoot at you before you realize they're not on the human side? And it's really just humans trying to survive and aliens trying to kill you. That's the only two sides. Um, though there's that gray. There is one gray area, and that's the Skitters that have decided to rebel against the people. And I would say, even if they're not inclusive of the humans trying to survive, they're definitely on that side ultimately. Um, okay, there's just no way around it. Okay, so but other than that, let's see, Mrs. Pettigrew lives for a day. I watched this the other day. Was really impressed. I thought Amy Adams was Nicole Kidman for some reason, so I'm sure somewhere in that is a compliment between the two ladies. One of the things that made me really think about if it was Nicole Kidman or not was like it's like I don't remember Nicole Kidman ever looking that good, and it turns out it was Amy Adams. So, uh, yeah, sorry Nicole Kidman because you're watching this obviously. Um, but she's not even like to me. She's not even the real star here. Let's see. Guinevere Pettigrew is the main character. Um, in the very least, she is who we follow. She's the character that we're supposed to relate to as the main protagonist, with Amy Adams' character kind of really being the antagonist. She's really the one causing problems for Miss Pettigrew, even though Miss Pettigrew causes problems for herself significantly throughout the movie. And why does her name not show up like right away? Really? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 spaces down on this is Frances McDormand. Uh, and I understand like she's not the supermodel actress. Amy Adams isn't even like that, really. I think just evenly statistically, but there's all these other people in the way, and someone I thought who was very funny. This while I'm looking at the cast, she had a very distinct voice, and I was like, where do I know her from? I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find her, but uh, oh, I think this is it. Why is her last name not here? Um, but Shirley Henderson. If you are a Harry Potter fan, I'm going to confirm this really quick. Let me just look it up. Yep, she was Moaning Myrtle in the Goblet of Fire. But that's a super distinct voice to come by and out, and I'm just super impressed because I was like, oh, she's kind of cute. That's an interesting voice. Where do I know that from? I'm just looking at her face, and occasionally you just have to stop looking at their face and be like, I know it's a distinct voice. Why do I know it's a distinct voice? It's because I heard that person as a voice actor. Yeah, they use her, but she's all translucent. She doesn't look like she does in Harry Potter. But Mrs. Pettigrew is all about like a governess who keeps losing her job because she's an uptight Puritan type person who has problems with her clients because her clients are not to her standard of morals, let's say. So she causes a fit and ends up getting fired like 3 or 4 times. So after her last chance, she even like steals a job with Amy Adams' character Deliza, and probably the worst of her situations, she tries to make work just so she can feed herself, and she really does a fantastic job. So I think it's supposed to be a movie of perseverance, and in all things, perseverance of love, because that's really what it looks like. Because especially since most of the characters here do not have the perception of love as like romantic entanglement, they have it as a use or means of using each other to to make things happen, and that's like Elijah's big dilemma. She's got three main guys that she's been hooking up with. So she's got the guy that can get her the job, and got the guy that can get her the money, and then she got the guy that can give her the love. And the obvious choice is the guy who can give her love, but then nothing else. Like, so it's that romantic bohemian ideal of like, do you need anything else? All you need is love, and go watch Moulin Rouge. So no, Nicole Kidman, I don't dislike you in any way, shape, or form, especially since you gave us such a great performance in that. Make sure I'm not too out of frame sitting up. But and then for whatever reason, I was just kind of looking at what was up next, and I clicked on Pumpkin. Never really heard anything about this movie before. I don't know why it seemed appealing. It's Christina Ricci, and she's got blonde hair, and I'm very much pro like Wednesday Addams for her because that's I grew up like we're about the same age if I remember right. Um, but I grew up kind of like with the Wednesday Addams crush, and she is uh, a really decent. She's a really good actress. Not, I'm just not the biggest fan. Like for a certain part of her career, and maybe she was just kind of in transition from being a child actress to being a serious adult actress, and it's all right. It's not everything's for everyone, and she, she's a well accomplished actress. She doesn't need my approval. Um, but just kind of as she got older, she became a certain type of actress, and it's just not maybe what I liked. But by the time she did Penelope, it looks like because like on Joey, she was kind of annoying. Maybe that was the character. Um, so I just didn't understand that. But there's a lot of stuff in here. Oh, and Pumpkin was actually before that too. So maybe I'm just maybe I'm the problem. But like I saw Prozac Nation, and I was kind of like, what's going on with this movie? And that could have been the movie. Uh, but she's even like, oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. Uh, but okay. So as far as Pumpkin goes, I was like, let's see what's up. I really did like her in Penelope. And even though she's got the blonde hair, so that my sight of her is kind of messed up. It's all about a sorority sister. She's like in charge. It's her senior year. She's trying to help lead the charge in the Greek competitions or whatever you want to call it. So their benefit that they do because it makes them look good. That's the only reason those fraternity sororities do that. Um, is the perception. Uh, she she falls in love with a special person. I don't hesitate to say that because I'm afraid of saying retarded or handicapped or special or anything like that. The movie draws a really fuzzy line about it because they humanize them so well because a lot of people don't do that and they example these people in the movie all sorts of ways. But they dehumanize handicapped people, whether they're deaf, blind, in a wheelchair, paralyzed. But they go, oh, you're handicapped, so you're not you're not a whole person. So you can't do these things, or we can't include you in this. And so you talk about like a retarded person being in love, and or being funny, and people get really offended but when you humanize these people, which is insane. It's because they have the right to be funny, they have the right to be lovers, just like anybody else. And people are concerned about like they don't have the wherewithal to have consent, and like it doesn't mean like they don't still get the same urges. They have to be allowed to be a person regardless if they made it dependent on somebody else. It's just the facts of life. So there's this guy in a wheelchair, and like he's severely physically handicapped. He can stand, but he doesn't stand very well in the beginning of the movie, and he uses things. He's a lot of trouble talking at first, but he is apparently inspired. Carolyn, Christina Ricci's character, is his muse, if you will, and he starts training physical therapy even harder, and he starts learning to talk better and how to use a phone and all these things, all this potential that he has, he starts fulfilling as the movie goes on. And Carolyn's character Carolyn is in this world where she even says it directly, like everything's perfect, everything's nice, it's very controlled. She comes from a family who's kept it that way. She herself has attempted to keep it that way, and it's very, very interesting to see that and see a little bit of chaos thrown into order to see how people react to it. And she kind of has a breakdown with her perfect boyfriend, and the whole like half the movie is just her dealing with the concept of being in love with a special man, because he's an adult at this point. He's not a little kid. It's not like anything like that. But he goes 150% any way you look at it, to try to be good enough for her, when she just liked how they could relate to each other, um, and that he has things that she didn't have anywhere else in her life, her universe, if you will. So it was really interesting to see that. Nice little romance, very unconventional, which I like because it makes you think about things, and um, definitely worth it. Dominic Schwain's in this as well. If any of you perverts are wanting to see more stuff with her in it as well, she was the star of Lolita. Took me about half of the movie to figure out who she was, because every time she came on screen, I'm like, I know her from somewhere, and it turned out it was the yeah, that movie. Um, and then of course sometimes when you are watching something, they suggest things at the end that the only like similarity is like another actor, another movie with that actress in it. So sure enough, I was looking at the next movies, and the one that came to my eye was All's Fair in Love, like in fair as in a Renaissance fair, um, spelled with the useless E, because I know you English do that sometimes, but I think we still just use it Faier. If yeah, I just failed to spell fair on the internet in front of everyone. I love that. Love that. But it's another Christina Ricci film, and you realize like how tiny she actually is in this. Of course, the her opposing role is supposed to be a football player, so of course he's giant sized anyways. But it's just the drastic size difference is hilarious. Um, Essentially, she quits like her pursuit of becoming like an NBA person, like on Wall Street, and she like undresses her in an interview. This is the opening scene. She gets claustrophobic, undresses, changes clothes, and runs off to go join her cousin at the fair, to work for the summer so that she can practice being an actress and whatnot. And then the quarterback has skipped class all semester, so he's gonna fail this dramatics class, and so he gets punished into the fair. So that's how they both end up there to meet, and there's all that nice little formulaic like, oh, she's nice, he's nice, I don't like him, no, I do like him, I do like her, like, but he's with her, and like it looks like he's after her, and it's a lot of form, like with the skin of the Renaissance Fair thing on it is very interesting. They do it really well because everyone's supposed to remain in character the entire summer. Theoretically, even while they're by themselves. Uh, so like there's things where like the princess is supposed to be able to get her hair brushed by one of the servant common folk or whatever. It's it's really kind of interesting to see all that, and there's this weird thing which I don't know. I hope no fair does this, where like there's noble characters and there's peasant characters, and like they are just different teams and they compete every summer, and whatever summer wins the games, the next year the winner becomes the nobles, which is all kind of horseshit. But it's the main cause of a lot of contention in the movie. So like obviously there's a place for it. I just it makes me scared. Like, oh my god, that could be somewhere. Um, because you just don't be a dick. Like just deal with everybody as humans. You know. I know it's a new foreign concept, especially. Yeah. Anyways, so I have no idea what connection. Oh, this was just on my list. Um, Occasionally, like you'll scroll through Netflix and you'll see all the little thumbnails, and some things just stand out to you. And you're like, what in the world is that? Um, and as I'm looking at this, before I actually mention the title, it's two people like dressed up in like preppy tennis type clothes with balls flying at them, which is not a scene in the movie at all. Uh, which is actually an interesting choice that the balls are green instead of blue because it's actually from a racquetball. Their costumes are from the racquetball scene, but it's a movie called Hairbrained, where like a 13-year-old genius gets sent to Whitman College, but his dream was to go to Harvard, and he's at Whitman instead, and he meets people from Harvard, and they beat up on him as much as the idiots from Whitman do. So he vows vengeance against Harvard. The way he wants to exact that is through the mental competitions. It's essentially like Mensa level trivia, uh, which I was trying to pay attention to some of the questions and be like, I don't even know how to figure out a couple of those, and then I just couldn't possibly have done it as fast as they show people doing it. And I know there's people that could. So I'm going to be happy in my level of intelligence, which is not poor by any means, but it's just not lightning fast to figure out like 8 factorial. Um, Kid interrupted the question to because that's what it was. Is like you need to know that the formula that they're looking for, the answer is 8 factorial, and then you have to do out the math and give the exact number. Like I had to pop open a calculator, and they were like 3 questions in by the time I figured it out. I'm like, yeah, this is why we have tools. I'm gonna use those. But the whole point past that is that he meets someone. He's too young to be at college. He meets someone who's too old to be at college, and they kind of pair up and they become really good friends. And they're both there for each other in their times of need for different things. And while they're both kind of self-destructing in certain ways, they help compensate for it. And it's a very good movie about friendship and romance, and uh, it's it's a good movie. You know what? There is a young lady in there. I know I recognized her, but I cannot remember for the life of me where I recognized her from. So let's find that out now. And IMDb, you're failing me here. Do 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 do. Am I wrong? Hairbrained. It's one word. So maybe that's the confusion. Yeah. Okay. Search engines these days. Like I had this problem at work. I was totally confident that our search engines would compensate for certain characters, and no. So I just why? Oh, Brendan Fraser's the older guy. If anyone's been a Brendan Fraser fan, um, Greta Lee was Gertrude Lee. That's just confusing. Um, she funny Asian girl character in there, I think. Unless it was Kamoko Glenn. That's for people who make movies. The super interesting, funny side character, unless they get a proper introduction, like it makes it super hard to remember them, regardless of how good they did. So if you can't remember them like by a name, like they need to solidify themselves as a character, where you can remember, oh, that girl. But if you can't do them as a name, you can't personalize them. You can't make them into a person, and it's irritating. um, but I think it's Julia Garner, yes, who was in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which is probably where I know what it was looking at these. Because IMDb does this wonderful thing where it shows the top 4 movies they were in. Perks of Being a Wallflower was a fantastic movie. She's going to be in a Sin City, A Dame to Kill For? Holy crap. I did not see that coming. But I know that I know her from We Are What We Are, which was a very disturbing movie about a cannibalistic family. Like theoretically from pioneer times, they would periodically fast and then kill somebody to eat them in honor of their ancestors who had to eat each other to survive the winter. um, and it's all about the kids trying to prevent themselves from having to do it again that year or whatnot. And um, it's a very ambiguous movie for the most part, so I'll leave it that because it's definitely one I would recommend you watch. There's a little bit of gore, but there's really not too nothing crazy. It's not like Saw or Silent Hill. Um, but yeah, so yeah, very interesting young lady. Has very distinctive hair, curly and short to the head, regardless of how long it gets. It looks like so. You definitely recognize her, I think, if you've seen her before. Um, and then after that, I realized about a quarter of the way into the movie that I had seen this before. Girl, Most Likely. For any Kristen Wiig fans out there, I think this is one that she wrote. Um, because it definitely seems like her thing. Oh, hold on, she didn't direct it. Um, maybe she. I don't know. It's it seems like very much her type of movie, which is maybe why she got casted for it. But she's essentially a New York City girl that has a breakdown and has to go back to New Jersey to live with her crazy family for a little bit. Um, so like there's all this interaction with her brother who's a little slow but really smart. Like he creates this thing called the human shell, which is supposed to be a hermit crab shell for people. But it's like bulletproof and super durable. It's got all this like built-in Wi-Fi and craziness. But like her mom's like a gambling addict, and then she's dating this guy who everyone believes him that he said when he says that he's in the CIA, and they've got a boarder there in her old room that, of course, she and him end up kind of pairing off to a degree, and it's it's a really interesting movie about finding companionship and a steadiness in the chaos of the sea, finding that rock to cling to when you're drowning in the ocean. Um, and then eventually the waves calm down, the tide drops, and you can go to shore. It's probably the best way I can express that movie and not ruin anything because it's really a movie of different experiences. So like every scene's built so that it gives you a certain thing. So like if you try to explain anything about the story, you're kind of ruining what makes it good, which is the scene to scene involvement. Oh man. Okay, so that's pretty much everything like been watching. I did just go through season 8 of How I Met Your Mother. Um, actually, like I'm sitting there looking at the end screen. Uh, I cannot express how dissatisfied I am with how the show was treated because it was a wonderful concept for a show. It was really funny. Like I would almost rather just have a Barney show because that he was half the show. He was half the reason to watch the show at any given time. Um, and seeing what they did with that character really was amazing. So Neil Patrick Harris is fucking amazing. And I can't wait to see him in more roles where he's gay Neil and not acting to the nth degree as a womanizer. Because like there was a whole thing with Harold and Kumar, um, which was amazing, and they basically took that version of Neil Patrick Harris and turned him into Barney for How I Met Your Mother, which again was amazing, but he's an awful person. Oh, deep down, like there's some layers, and you realize it's like it's not really so bad. He just has some problems like everybody else, because everybody has problems, whether or not they're putting it out there for you. What was I gonna say? The So that was really good. But like season 8 is the first time you actually see mom. It's 3 seasons past due because it was really just originally designed to be 5 seasons long, and the ridiculousness of it was like, well, we can if we just make more episodes, we can make more money. So let's make more money because it doesn't make them more famous. It didn't help the show. It didn't make it more entertaining. There are times where you should be able to just drop the show and make a new one, because it would have been better. It would have been more epic, um, to keep it the 5 seasons and finish the idea as designed. But I guess technically you do get more humor even at a degraded quality when you expand it like that. Because it was still good up until like season 8, but they never got, once they changed the formula to finish up at 5, they never had that ending formula down right, which is why I think we ended up with the disaster of a finale in season 9. But I haven't seen the discs yet. Theoretically, they fixed the ending by the time you get to the discs, and that's just annoying. Do it right the first time. It's the Mass Effect thing. Do your job. Do a quality thing right off the bat. Something that's not going to make people scream and shout. But if it does, why bother doing the other ending? You're already done with the show, so who do you have to appease in that? I don't know. I think it's a lot. It shows a lack of foresight to try to do that. And meanwhile, like we look at shows like Alphas, and we can't even get a wrap-up episode. That should be a thing. When a show gets canceled, it's like, okay, you're not going to get another season, but you equivalently get a 2-show budget to wrap this bitch up in one episode. And that should be a thing, and then you can tack that on to the end of the season. It's always add to, never change if possible, or delete from. That's a programming rule, but it works out in everything. It works out in like architecture. It's always okay to add a room to a house, but awfully dangerous when you try to take one away or remodel the walls for it. Because a lot of times you can get away with that, but it's risky, and that's fine. Let's see. We are T-minus 11 days to travel day for VidCon, and I'm terribly upset that I transferred my from Tuesday to Wednesday. Really wish I was getting there a day early, but I think I'm just getting overwhelmed with the idea of things. 11 days, man, that's a week. It's 2 weeks. So that's gonna be that. I'm trying to get them ready and get the house ready. I'm almost done editing video. I just did my second week's. I've got Charlie's week's done. So I really just need to do one more set of videos to edit plus some bad summaries, and then I'm set until like mid-July. Horrible way to do videos. It's never way I would want to do it for my reviews because of the amount of editing that it takes to get things how I want them. I know Alan over on Mr. Harry Britt does a bunch of stuff in advance, but he does talking points with jump cuts and a lot of one take style things, at least per per not scene, but per idea. So like that's easy enough to do if you're doing that. But if you're putting in editing, like I really want to figure out how to do like John Madden stuff. I should be able to like take my mouse and actually draw and be like and point and write stuff up in the screen. And I know there's a way to do it, and eventually I'll figure it out. But it's just not worth the time. If I can get through editing this stuff for movie club stuff, hopefully I will be able to go ahead and jump in and finally do my gaming division thing. I've got another How to Play because the How to Play Munchkin finally took off really well, and I'm super happy about that. So that's more the kind of thing I want to do. Gameplay footage is easy. It's more time consuming, or it's as time consuming, but it's easier, and I get to play games. And that's essentially all I'm doing with that is I'm picking games I want to play and try out, and that's what I'm going to do. So I think that's what's going to happen is after I get through with BioShock and I finally get that starting to post, I'm going to just pick like random games that I've gotten from Steam, and I'm gonna play a little bit and just to see if I like them. So it'll be like let's try um, instead of like a full let's play, which is the most irritating thing about let's plays to me is when somebody hasn't finished it. So let's say like I go to somebody's thing and they've got BioShock and I want to watch them play it. Um, Occasionally they get about halfway through and they just stop. What is the point of that? If you want to do it weekly, great, but play the whole run, do it in a day or two because that's what you do for a living, and do it that way. Um, I'm telling you, if I was a YouTube content creator as a job, that's probably how I would handle things. I'd have like my weeklies that I'd have to meet, of course, but that's I would probably just be like, okay, here we go, 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 and get it all done with, and then either somebody or me can go back and edit it through if it needs it. But if you do it right, you put it on a timer, you can get the episodes well mapped out. I failed to do this on a couple occasions already, but it can be fun. I don't know. I'm not gonna keep anybody just watching me run my mouth, um, talking continuously does something to your throat. I don't like it. I don't talk enough during the week, anyways, and I don't have Charlie's smiling face to keep me company today, so I'm gonna get some more stuff done around here. And thanks for watching. Uh, I am Kamurai. You can find me on Jam or YouTube/JamOnToast528 for movie review stuff. Yell at me on the Twitter at Kamurai25. Feel free to yell at us on the Twitter for We Are Movie Club at We Are Movie Club, and let us know if you want to watch movies with us or get involved doing reviews and see if we can't get you on point. All right, bye everybody.